I am Kevin's canary. Relying on the fact that he is a low-quality omega, he spends more money than anyone else. After ignition, I was wearing furry dog ears and a dog tail, and I leaned over and rubbed my chin against him, with my red lips slightly parted. Kevin, I feel bad. Dag me now. Kevin was driven crazy by the fishing. He hooked his hand around my waist and pressed me down on the desk, his voice hoarse. Baby, how could you do that? My husband will die on you sooner or later. I narrowed my eyes and didn't take it seriously. By the way, after hearing the news that Kevin was going to get married, she took the money and ran away. But who can tell me? Am I not a low-quality omega? How can I still get pregnant? 8 o'clock in the evening, Nanshan Villa. When I received Kevin's message, I took 2 quick steps and replied to him. Woof. There was silence for a long time. I raised an eyebrow, not believing he could hold back. Really? The next second, Kevin called directly. The man's voice is very nice. But at this moment he is a little mute. Meet me in my office now. After saying that, he hung up the phone. I stared at the off-screen phone for 2 seconds and smiled. I am Kevin's canary. People outside say that he is pure and simple and lives like a monk. He relies entirely on inhibitors during the susceptible period, and all omegas sent to his bed will be sent back intact. He is the most difficult alpha to approach in the circle. But in private, he always loses control in front of me. But it was a bit unexpected that he asked me to go to his office this time. I thought he would skip work early. They were all prepared to sneak away even at the risk of being scolded by the team leader. After all, Kevin has always kept his public and private affairs separate. I had just finished with him. I mentioned that our senior year internship teacher asked us to find the internship unit to stamp our certificate ourselves, and Kevin told me to go to his company for internship. I thought he wanted to have an office romance and try something exciting. The result was unexpected. This person really just wanted me to go for an internship. Pretend not to know me in the company. As a result, I had been interning at the company for more than a month, and no one had noticed that Kevin and I were having an affair. The more prudish he is, the more I like to tease him. Finally, Kevin couldn't hold it anymore. It seemed like he was waiting for me on purpose. As soon as I knocked on the door, I was pulled in by a huge force. Then, the overly hot kisses began to fall on him densely. From the eyebrows to the lips, all the way down. Finally, it bit my collarbone, neither lightly nor heavily, as if it was dissatisfied with the fact that I was wearing a pullover today. The man raised his head slightly and glanced at me. The sound is murky. Did you do that on purpose? I'm playing dumb. What do you mean? I don't understand. Kevin chuckled, and a pheromone scented with cedar and rose emanated from his body, slowly wrapping around me. I leaned against the door with some difficulty, but my legs couldn't help but become weak. Kevin was standing nearby. Don't touch me either. Just looked at me with a teasing look on his face. I know this is a punishment. He is angry. He was mad at me for arousing his interest and for wearing such an inconvenient sweater. It's so unfair. Who would have thought that he would be unable to resist and have an office play, affected by pheromones? I twisted my body in an unbearable manner, tears almost coming out. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I glared at him fiercely, lifted the hem of his sweater and held it in my mouth. Kevin took a deep breath. Went crazy on the spot. The documents on the desk were swept to the floor at random. Kevin held me by the waist with one hand and carried me to the table. I accepted everything with a dazed look in my eyes. In a trance, I heard Kevin say, "Baby, I love you so much." Nobody knows. Kevin, who always appears to be cold and aloof to others, is actually a man who is not stingy in expressing his love. But I have always scoffed at this. The sponsor said love. Anyone who believes it is a fool. At first he kept me by his side, was kind to me, indulged me, and there was always a smile in his light eyes. I'm really moved. I thought he liked me. But that night I was poured a bucket of cold water. I'm awake. I know that this world is actually a BL novel. Kevin is the protagonist, and he has always had a white moonlight in his heart. Kevin couldn't accept that the white moonlight disappeared, so when he saw me, An omega who was 3/4 similar to the white moonlight, he decisively took action to keep me by his side. In his heart, I'm just a cannon fodder. When he finds out that his marriage partner is by Yue Guang, I will be forced to leave. After understanding the plot, I felt a lot more relaxed. While the white moonlight hadn't appeared yet, Kevin was generous and I made money from him like crazy. I followed him for less than a year. Houses, cars, and savings add up to tens of millions. Besides, Kevin himself is in good condition. His facial features are very three-dimensional, a bit like mixed race, with broad shoulders and narrow waist, 8-pack abs, long legs, and a height of nearly 1.9 meters. No wonder he is said to be the protagonist. As for me, a poor student, nothing but beauty. No matter how you look at it, I don't look like the one who suffered a loss. Thinking of this, I curled the corners of my mouth slightly, hooked my arms around Kevin's neck and leaned in to kiss him. Kevin, you're playing such a big game in the office, aren't you afraid of being discovered by your subordinates? Hearing this, Kevin paused. He looked at me deeply. So as a matter of fact, I am indeed afraid. I'm afraid that others will find out that I brought a puppy to work that can't control itself and pees everywhere. If someone really comes, then the puppy will have to hide. He said he was afraid. The movements below became more forceful. What you say will come true. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a knock on the door. Kevin, I need you to sign a document. We looked at each other. Kevin stuffed me under his desk. I hid inside. Kevin returned to his cold tone and asked someone to bring the document to him. When he lowered his head to look at the documents, he also gave me a look, signaling me to be good. Don't make any noise. I winked at him and moved closer. Kevin's expression changed immediately. He signed quickly and sent the person away. As soon as the door closed, Kevin pulled me out from under the table. There was no expression on his face. He quickly tidied my clothes and pulled me out. Realize what he wants to do. I struggled a few times subconsciously. If I followed him out at this time, I wouldn't know how many people would treat me like a monkey. I still have some shame. You go ahead. It's almost time to get off work anyway. I'll sneak out after everyone leaves. But at this moment, Kevin obviously couldn't listen to what I said. He threw his suit jacket at my face, hugged me and opened the door. I froze. She nestled in his arms, not daring to move. On the way, some old employees greeted him. Kevin, what are you doing? Kevin's tone was very calm. There is still time to pinch my waist. My boyfriend is thin-skinned and a little shy. The office exploded. There were deliberately suppressed discussions everywhere. I didn't hear what they said clearly before Kevin took me away. Kevin's words kept echoing in my mind. My little boyfriend. What a crazy person. Who is your boyfriend? Can you have a sense of the boundaries of a financial sponsor? I suppressed my restlessness and reminded myself. It's just a deal between Kevin and me. Nothing else. Jason, wake up. Don't be fooled by him. Maybe he just wants to use you to protect himself from bad luck in love. Yes, that's it. It must be like this. I gave myself hints along the way. After arriving at the villa, I asked Kevin to take a shower first. I got cheated by him. I want to pit back. Walking into the cloakroom, I looked at the pile of colorful clothes and blew a hooligan whistle. Kevin didn't know what he was doing in the bathroom. This bath took quite a long time. Separated by a wall. I listened to the sound of running water. But my body feels a little hot. TSK. The estrus season has arrived. Relying on the fact that I am a low-quality omega, I play more lavishly than anyone else. At times like this, the more I like to hook up with Kevin. The bathroom door opened. Kevin was only wearing a bath towel around his waist. His eyes were fixed on me. My breathing suddenly became heavier. I wore furry dog ears and a dog tail, handed the chain on the collar to Kevin, sat on the ground, rubbed my chin against him, and opened my red lips slightly. Kevin, I feel bad. Tag me now. Kevin was driven crazy by the fishing. He didn't even bother to wipe my dripping hair. He just carried me and threw me onto the bed. His eyes were red and his voice was hoarse. Baby, how could you do that? My husband will die on you sooner or later. I narrowed my eyes and didn't take it seriously. He licked his lower lip deliberately. He barked at him. Kevin semet amuset. The corners of his lips raised in a beautiful arc. What? Didn't you play puppy enough during the day? I didn't answer. She just glared at him fiercely, not understanding why he was talking so much nonsense tonight. Being glared at. Kevin wasn't annoyed either. Instead, he sighed and said, "Don't be cute. It's no use." But his eyes were much gentler. I don't like Kevin saying sweet things to me. I don't like him looking at me like that. This would put me in a trance. I wonder if Kevin has real feelings for me and if he likes me? But the memories of the plot in my mind remind me all the time that all this is fake and I am just a substitute. I stole someone else's love. My thoughts are a little confused. But the next second, I didn't have time to worry about it. The collar tightened. He pulled me straight up and kissed me. Before I could suffocate, Kevin let me go. The tip of the ear was bitten. I heard him say, "Stick out your tongue. That's how you look like a puppy." I did it subconsciously. But Kevin couldn't stand it. The tone was both helpless and restrained. "Baby, why are you so obedient? I love you so much, Jason." I can't remember what else he said afterwards. 7. Kevin didn't mention it. I just thought it was insignificant talk. But the way Kevin looked at me was inexplicably resentful. I'm too lazy to guess what he's thinking. I went to the company first after I finished packing. Employees are always most interested in gossip about their boss, especially when it comes to a 1,000-year-old iceberg like Kevin. A lot of people are wondering how good-tempered a person must be to tolerate him. I felt a little guilty eating on the sidelines, so I quietly returned to my workstation and started organizing documents. I was busy until I got off work, and then I relaxed a lot. As a result, just as I was about to leave, I was pulled back by Ryan, the leader of the next group. Ryan is an alpha. He already has a beer belly at the age of over 30. He is not tall, and with that lustful look in his eyes, he looks like a dirty and greasy man. He came to me shortly after I came to the company. He also wanted me to join their group, saying that they would take good care of me. Fortunately, our team leader is reliable and did not let us go. Now that my internship is about to end, this person can't sit still again. As soon as Ryan stood in front of me, many other colleagues also stopped, and a few men who were making a fuss bumped Ryan's arm and joked, "Ryan, don't you have something to say to Jason? Say it now." That's right, don't let the little beauty wait anxiously. I frowned and guessed what Ryan wanted to do. Just as I was about to leave, I heard Ryan say, "Jason, I think we're a good match. How about we give it a try? Besides, you're going to graduate soon, and you'll have to find a job after graduation. I have more connections than you do, so maybe I can recommend you a good job." Before I could refuse, the people around me started to make a fuss. Together. Everyone was talking at once, not giving me a chance to speak. Now even an idiot could see that this was clearly arranged by Ryan. Relying on the fact that he was the team leader and had a certain influence in the industry, he thought that I would not dare to offend him or give him face, and would definitely agree. Unfortunately, I don't buy it. Left a sentence. "I don't think we're a good match. Just get ready to go." As soon as these words were spoken, the surroundings suddenly became quiet. Ryan's face turned red with anger. He pointed at me and started to curse. "Who do you think you are? I'm giving you face by liking you, and you still dare to reject me? I just think you're pretty, so I want to play with you. Don't take yourself too seriously. You're just a low-quality omega. What the hell are you? Believe it or not, if you dare to walk out of the company door today, I will make sure you can't find a job in the industry for the rest of your life. But if you kneel down and beg me now, maybe I can still give you a way out." That smug face. I was so angry that I laughed. She raised her hand and wanted to splash the cup of water on his face. It's just that someone did it first. Ryan was doused with ice water and wanted to curse, but when he saw the person dousing him, he shut up. I looked at Kevin, who showed up out of nowhere, and was a little surprised. Kevin's face showed no expression. But I just know that he was angry, very angry. Ryan was still asking without knowing whether to live or die. "Kevin, what do you mean?" Before he could say anything, he was interrupted by Kevin. "You're fired. Roll." Ryan's face turned pale. He looked at Kevin in disbelief, then looked at me as if he understood something and shouted, "But just because of Jason?" I don't know if it was my illusion, but when Kevin mentioned my name, his eyes softened for a moment and then returned to his icy face. "Yes, you are getting in my boyfriend's way." Everyone was stunned, including me. I also thought Kevin was crazy. Although this feels great, he and I pretended to be a stranger in the company for more than a month. Wasn't it because he didn't want others to find out about our relationship? Why did you suddenly think of making it public? They also gave me a very serious identity. Along the way, until the car was driven into the villa garage, my mind was still in a mess. Stop the car. Neither of us opened the car door first. There was a long silence. At the same time he said, "I can actually handle it. There's no need to lie and help me get to this point. Why didn't you tell me you had a boyfriend? Am I that embarrassed?" When I heard the word boyfriend, I froze. My heartbeat is getting faster and faster. Subconsciously retorted, "What boyfriend? We are not." I couldn't say anything else. The pheromones Kevin was emitting were about to overflow. I was so exhausted from the pressure. A familiar tingling sensation rose inside my body, and I pursed my lips and lowered my head in embarrassment. The chin is forced up. Just before Kevin kissed me, I heard him say, "Didn't you agree to be my boyfriend last night? What? Don't you want to take responsibility?" As if seeing the confusion in my eyes, Kevin paused and smiled. "It's okay, let's review it again." Kevin carried me back to the bedroom. Thanks to him for constantly asking me when I couldn't remember something, I finally remembered it. He did ask me last night before he passed out. He asked me if I wanted to be his boyfriend, but that was all. As for how I answered, I have no memory of that at all. But Kevin was too persistent. I even suspected that if I hadn't said no, he would have done it twice more. Can't stand it at all. After Kevin became my boyfriend, he became more considerate than before, except in bed. He played more extravagantly. He is better at playing than me. I often worry that I will be played badly by this mad dog Kevin. I was so scared that I went back to school and hid there for half a month. The internship is over. The thesis defense was also passed. The head of the dormitory planned for everyone to have a farewell dinner together, and I went too. There are 6 people in the dormitory, 4 of them are drunkards. By 10 o'clock in the evening, I was so drunk that I could hardly stand. The dormitory leader has a good alcohol tolerance and is still sober at the moment, so he went out to get a taxi. I followed at the end. Looking at the familiar figure under the streetlight, he squinted his eyes and smiled. "Kevin, are you here to take me home?" Without waiting for his answer, I rushed over and hugged him. She buried her head in the man's shoulder. I rubbed it gently, whispered, "Kevin, I missed you." In an instant, Kevin's deliberately disguised indifference disappeared. The top of the head was rubbed. I could hear his complaints mixed with grievances. "You've been hiding from me for so long, Jason. You're really good at that. Today is my birthday. Not only did you not accompany me, but you also got drunk with others. If I hadn't come to pick you up, would you still not plan to go home?" Birthday? Is today Kevin's birthday? My drowsy brain suddenly became much clearer. I have been Kevin's canary for more than a year, and I have never heard him mention his birthday, so I tactfully did not ask any further questions. Now he mentioned it. I couldn't just pretend I didn't know, especially since this was our first birthday since we started dating. But when I saw the time, I was immediately discouraged. The tone was also full of loss. It's 10:30, the cake shops are closed, and I haven't prepared any gifts. I'm such a terrible boyfriend. As I was thinking this, I felt a red ribbon in my pocket. I wanted to throw it away during the day but didn't, and now it comes in handy. The next second, I looked up and kissed Kevin. She tied the red ribbon around her neck into a bow and said to him in a low voice, somewhat embarrassedly, "A birthday cannot be celebrated without presents. How about this, I'll give myself to you, okay? Respond to mine." It was a heavy kiss. "Okay, then you'll be mine from now on, and you'll stay with me forever." "I'm serious, Jason." 11. Drank too much. The car ride was uncomfortable. Fortunately, it was not far from home, so Kevin took me back by the hand. Although he didn't say it along the way, I could feel that he was very happy. It's just a pity that there's no cake for my birthday. To this, I hooked his palm in a flattering manner. Discuss it with him. There's really nothing I can do about the cake this time. Next time I will definitely make you a good one myself. How about that? Hearing this, Kevin looked at me meaningfully. He took out his phone and glanced at the screen. It's not too late. What? Eat cake. I didn't understand what he meant at the time, but when we got home and Kevin smeared the cream he had prepared on my body, I understood. The moment before losing consciousness, I was so angry that I cursed. Mad dog. Kevin was not angry even after being scolded. Instead, she smiled and put something on my finger and kissed me. Mad dog loves you. Quote. There was no need to rush to school. I slept until noon and Kevin had already gone to work. I stretched and was about to use my phone to order takeout when I paused. I looked at the ring on my ring finger. Somewhere in my heart was suddenly poked. This period of time was so happy that it seemed a little unreal. From a captive canary, he was promoted directly to a real boyfriend. Official announcement in the company. Celebrated birthday together. They also wore couple rings. Plus, every time Kevin looks at me, his eyes don't seem fake. I even suspected that the memory of the original plot was just a nightmare I had. Right? That's right. Maybe there is no plot at all. I think this world is very real. How could it be a novel? And they also said Kevin would marry Bai Yueguang. Is that a lie? Kevin never mentioned Bai Yueguang, and I didn't see which one he was going to marry. Thinking of this, I felt a lot more relaxed instantly. I opened the chat box and sent a voice message to Kevin. I love you too. This is a response to what he said last night. As soon as the message was sent, the other party called immediately. You couldn't find me when you woke up. Did you miss me? Like he didn't expect me to be so straightforward. Kevin was silent for a while, and his breathing became heavier. After a while, I heard him say, I missed you too, baby. Come pick me up from get off work today, and I'll take you to the beach for a barbecue. In the end, we didn't get to eat the barbecue. The school notified us to return to school in the afternoon to get our diplomas. It was already raining when we came out of the school. Just as I was about to stop a car to pick up Kevin, a handsome guy with a delicate appearance stood in front of me. Can we chat? My name is Jeffrey. I was stunned for a moment. He froze in place, not knowing how to react. Jeffrey, this name is very familiar to me. He has appeared countless times in the plot. He is Kevin's love interest and the one who will marry Kevin and spend the rest of his life with him. Eyes met. I unconsciously rubbed the ring on my ring finger and panicked. I followed him all the way to the cafe next to the school. Half of my body was wet by the rain, but I didn't react much. In comparison, Jeffrey is much more natural. He even ordered me a hot lot. I silently looked at the overly thin person in front of me. He had gentle eyebrows and a slightly upturned mouth. He looked 30% like me, but his style was completely opposite. He looked like someone who had just recovered from a serious illness and was sickly, a bit like a sick beauty. The sound is also very soft. No offensive power. She is indeed a good match for Kevin. Suppressing the bitterness in my heart, I took a sip of coffee and said calmly, What do you want from me? There were not many people in the store. It was so quiet all around that the only sound was the clatter of the spoons stirring back and forth. Jeffrey lowered his eyes and pursed his lips. The body trembled slightly. I know you're with Kevin now. I came to you to tell you that Kevin has actually been treating you as my substitute. Kevin and I have been together since college. We were each other's first love, but my health has always been poor. I had a car accident in my sophomore year and couldn't stand up. I suffered from depression for a while. I couldn't accept myself like this, so I secretly went abroad for treatment. I asked my family to help me lie to Kevin and tell him that I was dead. I thought at the time that if I was cured, I would come back to give him a surprise and we would be together again. If I couldn't be cured, I would die. I would never let Kevin see me in such a miserable state. But I was wrong. It took me several years to get back on my feet, but when I came back I saw someone else by his side. That face looked a lot like mine. I was happy that he hadn't forgotten me, but I was also afraid that he had really fallen in love with you. I've been observing you for a month, and I keep telling myself that if you miss it, you miss it. But I still can't accept it. When I think that Kevin will belong to someone else in the future, I'm going crazy. I can't live without Kevin, really. Please give Kevin back to me, okay? At the end of the conversation, Jeffrey's tone was filled with tears. He looked really vulnerable. It's like a porcelain doll that will break if touched lightly. I remember reading his profile in the plot. Although he is an Omega, he is not inferior to those Alphas in every aspect. If it weren't for the car accident, I would probably have been a gifted person like Kevin. But it can only make people think of humbleness and pity. I feel so upset. When I spoke again, my voice was a little hoarse. What if I don't? Why am I always the unlucky one? I was abandoned by my parents when I was a child, and the old director who took care of me in the orphanage also passed away. I finally got into college, but was harassed by a group of crazy debt collectors who said that the son should pay for the father's debts. My father was a gambler and owed them a large sum of money. If I didn't pay him, he would come to block me at the school gate every day. Damn it. Where did my father come from? Everything disappeared in the previous 18 years. He owed money and was almost beaten to death. Then he remembered that he had a son. Thanks to this group of thugs, no one dared to be friends with me in college. Afraid of getting into trouble. Then I met Kevin. He pulled me out, treated me well, and said he liked me. I thought I had finally gotten lucky and had a family. As a result, that inexplicable plot appeared. Okay, then I won't be tempted. I will just be my own canary honestly and not expect anything that I shouldn't. But the expected plot did not happen. Just when I let go of my obsession, thought that nothing was wrong, and took the initiative to respond to Kevin's love and gave my whole heart to him, you, Jeffrey, jumped out again. Is it fun to give people hope and then kick them back into the mud? 15. It's really suffocating. I told myself, take another gamble. I bet Kevin really likes me. Bet he didn't lie to me. I bet he said he wanted me to be with him forever. I've always had bad luck and I'm used to it, but this is the only time I hope I can win the bet. Just once. Please. Hearing that I didn't compromise, Jeffrey's fingers holding the spoon turned white. Those red eyes. It was as if he had suffered some great injustice. There was silence for a while. Just as I stood up and prepared to leave, Jeffrey's low voice came from behind me. It's no use not wanting him. Kevin is mine. It's destined by God. If you don't let me, I will take him back myself. And Jason, don't forget, you're just a stand-in. I'm trying to save your face by advising you to let go. The news that Kevin and I are getting married has been posted online. The wedding date is set for next month. If you don't want to be kicked out by Kevin, you'd better be sensible. Oh, by the way, Kevin also knows that I came to see you today. If I were to say that the news of the marriage made my heart tremble, that last sentence was the final straw for me. Kevin knows. He knew Jeffrey was coming to see me. It may even be that he didn't want to break up with me and deliberately let Jeffrey force me to leave. But he clearly told me on the phone this morning that he missed me and asked me to pick him up after get off work. Was-he-ling? I don't want to believe it. Calling Kevin over and over again. But it never gets through. I clicked on the local news again to see the latest news, which was a report about the upcoming marriage between the Pei and Ji families. Really interesting. Liars, all of them are fucking liars. 16. I ignored Jeffrey and walked out of the cafe. It's still drizzling outside. The sky was gloomy, making people feel confused and upset. I fell down without paying attention. Land on your knees first. It's bleeding. Blood flowed down his trouser legs and dripped onto the ground. My face was pale and my fists were clenched tightly. The bleeding place is not the knee. 17. I thought of something and closed my eyes, feeling even more embarrassed. Fortunately, the hospital is close. After the examination, I looked at the list in my hand and recalled what the doctor said to me. It's nothing serious, it's just that you had a lot of emotional fluctuations and fell, so there is bleeding. I'll prescribe some medicine for you to stabilize it. Don't worry, the child is fine. Child? Can anyone tell me? How the hell can I get pregnant when I'm a low-quality Omega? I didn't understand, so I asked directly. The doctor said that theoretically, low-quality omegas cannot conceive, but in reality, especially when the partner is a top-level alpha, there is a small chance of pregnancy. Everything he said told me, it was not easy to have this child. If I abort him, I probably won't have one again in the future. I sat on a chair in the hospital corridor. Unconsciously, he stroked his belly. The baby is only 2 months old and his belly is flat, so nothing can be seen. I closed my eyes. I thought to myself, maybe God took pity on me because I was lonely and sent a little guy to keep me company. It doesn't seem too bad. The man is gone, but the child is mine. After sorting out my thoughts, I immediately took a taxi home and packed my luggage. Before leaving, I glanced at my silent phone and sent Kevin a message. Happy wedding to you. Let's break up. Just blocked him. By the way, I even took out the phone card and threw it away. I have already received my graduation certificate from school, so it doesn't matter whether I attend the graduation ceremony or not. I settled the money Kevin gave me. Several million, enough for me to live a carefree life in a small city. I slipped away. Of course I didn't know that Kevin was looking for me like crazy that night. 5 years have passed. The next time I saw Kevin was on a financial report. In the video, the man is wearing a black suit and his expressionless face makes him look even colder. After the professional questions, it is time for personal questions to satisfy the audience's curiosity. Excuse me, Kevin, do you have someone you like? Have. Really? How long have you liked it? 6 years, maybe longer. The host was startled. Then you've been in love for so long? Why don't you get married? On the screen, Kevin smiled bitterly. He lowered his head and rubbed the ring. Because I can't find him. The interview ends here. But my heart was in turmoil. I didn't want to take it personally, but I couldn't help but recall every word he answered in my mind. Bit by bit. They all said that the person he liked was me. And it seems that Kevin is not married. Didn't he say he was going to marry Jeffrey? How come you're not married? At this moment, there was a sudden knock on the door. Before I even opened the door, I heard Scott's shout. Det, open the door. Look who I brought back. Scott is my son. He looks like Kevin, a bit like a handsome mixed-race boy. My personality is similar to mine, naughty and talkative. I felt a headache when I heard that he had picked up someone again. When I was 2 years old, I tolerated picking up cats and dogs. On my 3rd birthday, he picked up a little boy of 7 or 8 years old for me and insisted that this was the child bride he picked for him. I said that the little brother is a boy and cannot be a child bride. Scott blinked. She hugged the little brother and kissed him, then raised her chin proudly towards me. You're lying. Kevin is also a man, but you're still with him, right? And you've got me. Finally, after much persuasion, he was sent back home. It's been less than a year and here it comes again. I opened the door and educated Scott. Didn't Daddy tell you not to pick up random people and bring them home? Why won't you listen? Scott still ignored my words and was extremely excited. Dad, look who I picked up for you. Didn't you say Kevin couldn't live with us because he died? He's alive again and I picked him up. 19. I looked up and met Kevin's half-smile. I swallowed. I took a step back unconsciously. Kevin squatted down and touched Scott's head. His expression softened rarely. My dear son, go play by yourself, okay? I have something to say to your father. Scott tilted his head. He looked at me, then at Kevin, and suddenly covered his eyes with his hands and laughed. I see, you two want to kiss, right? Xiaopang said that every time his parents send him away, he wants to kiss. I'm leaving now and I definitely won't peek. My head hurts worse. Is this my biological son? Selling daddy sold so fast. Scott said he didn't peek, but most of his eyes were visible through his fingers. I sighed and took Kevin into the bedroom. As soon as he entered, Kevin locked the door. The body tenses subconsciously. I heard Kevin say with a smile, I'm dead. When did he die? How come I don't know? After Scott went to kindergarten, he saw that others had their parents or dads to pick them up, so he ran back and chased me to ask. It's okay to do it once or twice. But after asking so many times, Every time I met Scott's innocent big eyes, I still couldn't bear to tell him that his daddy was married to someone else and that he would be someone else's daddy in the future. I could only lie to him and tell him that his daddy was dead. Afraid that he wouldn't believe it, I even showed him a photo of Kevin. I thought that children have short memories and it is impossible for them to remember it from just that one time. But Scott not only remembered it, he also brought the person back. I looked away in annoyance. Perfunctorily said, "It's none of your business." Kevin was so angry that he laughed. Her chin was forced to turn to meet his gaze. When I saw the sadness in his eyes, all the words of trying to drive him away were stuck in my throat and I couldn't utter a single word. "Jason, you are so cruel." He left me for 5 years without saying a word. If I hadn't come to L City on a business trip and met Scott, I probably wouldn't have known that my son had grown so big. "I've been looking for you, it's driving me crazy." 20. At the end, Kevin's eyes were red. I feel a little uncomfortable. For so many years, I deliberately avoided searching for news about him online because I was afraid that I still couldn't bear to part with him. But every time it's his birthday, I still can't help but take out the photos of the two of us from my phone album and say happy birthday to him. I can't forget him. But when I thought of Jeffrey, I calmed down. You were about to marry into Jeffrey's family, so why did I stay there? Waiting for you to tell me to leave. Besides, wasn't it you who asked Jeffrey to persuade me to leave? I don't know what happened between you two in the past 5 years, or why you didn't get married. I only know that I'm a substitute and I can't compete with him. I don't want to embarrass myself, okay? After saying that, I raised my hand and slapped away his hand that was pinching my chin and prepared to open the door to see him off. Before he could even touch the door handle, Kevin grabbed him and lifted him up by the waist. My face turned red instantly. Struggling to get down. "Kevin, let go. Are you crazy?" The next second, familiar pheromones filled the entire room. The strength is getting weaker and weaker. The body is getting hotter and hotter. After so many years of abstinence, I still get aroused when I come into contact with Kevin's pheromones. Kevin had both wrists firmly pinned above his head. I was pinned down and couldn't move. Kevin stared at me for 2 seconds and then started kissing me densely. Finally, as if to vent his anger, he bit my collarbone hard. "I'm a mad dog, didn't you know that? Jason, I regret this. I shouldn't have let you be my boyfriend in the first place." My heart ached. I began to struggle desperately again. He didn't forget to say harsh words. "So what are you doing now? A mad dog in heat? Kev, you're a liar. You used me as a substitute and deceived my feelings. I hate you. Get out of here." The rest of the words were blocked in his mouth. The smell of blood filled my taste buds until I bit Kevin again, and he let go. Kevin rubbed my swollen lips meaningfully. He leaned in for another kiss. "I don't treat you as a substitute. You have never been a substitute for anyone. You are my love." 21. Kevin paused at this point. When he spoke again, there was a hint of paranoia in his voice. "I should have let you be my canary from the beginning. You are so naive. As long as I give you money, you will not run away. If you feel guilty, at least you will ask me to cancel the contract first. Then I can tie you to the bedroom and press you with pheromones every day. You can't go anywhere and can only beg me to mark you." As for Jeffrey, I never liked him from the beginning to the end. The marriage was also deliberately leaked by my second uncle. He cooperated with Jeffrey's family. Ryan, do you remember him? He was the one who picked a fight with you in the office. He was the one planted by my second uncle. I had wanted to kick this parasite out of the company for a long time, and I fired him just because of you. My second uncle was angry and wanted to make trouble for me to make me unhappy, so when Jeffrey approached him, he agreed. No wonder he kept talking to me that afternoon when you ran away, and he even broke his phone. By the time I realized what was happening and wanted to explain to you, you were gone. You wished me a happy wedding, Jason. Now that you're gone, who am I going to wish me a happy wedding with? The struggling movement froze. I looked at Kevin in disbelief. So, Jeffrey isn't your perfect match? Kevin sneered. As if I were telling a joke. What the hell is White Moonlight? Do you think this is a novel? Don't say it, really don't say it. He ran around with the ball for 5 years with a sad face, only to be fooled by Jeffrey. But Kevin was clearly still angry. Not intending to let it go, he began to move his hand downwards. In fact, if you hadn't run away this time, I wouldn't have known you didn't trust me so much. How are you going to make it up to me, huh? I know I'm in the wrong. I licked my lips and wrapped my legs around Kevin's waist, begging for mercy. Then, a husband mark me quickly. Kevin's eyes darkened. He lowered his head and covered my lips. 22. After the madness, I lay in Kevin's arms, gasping for breath. The man seemed unsatisfied. While grabbing my fingers and kissing them, he continued to coax me. You want to get rid of me now? I've been looking for you for 5 years. Baby, I'm a businessman. I hesitated for a moment. He looked at him tentatively. How about I pursue you instead? For 5 years. Okay, but I have to get married first before pursuing you, otherwise I won't feel safe. 23. Kevin lived here for half a month under the pretext of wanting to get familiar with my home. After sending my son to kindergarten during the day, he has been sticking to me. Took me to every corner of my house. The bathroom, sofa, desk, nothing was left out. When I got tired of playing, I fell asleep. When I woke up again, I was back in the villa where I once lived with Kevin. My son went to a new kindergarten. We are the only ones at home during the day. As if he was still haunted by my last escape, Kevin moved most of his work to his home. It was not until I went with him to get the marriage certificate that he returned to work in the company contentedly. During this time, I couldn't help but ask him out of curiosity. By the way, where is Jeffrey? To this, Kevin just sneered. In a mental hospital. I sent him there myself. I wanted to know what was going on in that plot, so I asked Kevin for the address of the mental hospital and went there alone. Kevin didn't stop me, but sent a driver to take me there. Jeffrey was staying in a single room. Before I even entered, I heard Jeffrey going crazy. What did you say? They're together again. But didn't you say you changed the plot? You also leaked this plot to Jason. He ran away, so how did he meet Kevin again? Kevin is mine. Mine. I have tried my best to make my face look like Jason before appearing in front of him. Why is it still like this? It's the 3rd time. I have started over 3 times. System, are you deliberately lying to me? You just don't want me to be with Kevin. No, this is not right. This shouldn't be the ending. I want to do it again. System, I want to do it again. Where are you? Where did you go? Answer me. I didn't hear what Jeffrey said next. It was enough to know that he was the one behind all this. 24. It rained again on the way home. I was sitting in the car, looking at the familiar yet unfamiliar scenery around me. I felt like I was back to the day I escaped 5 years ago. It was the same day, cloudy and drizzling. Thinking of this, I said to the driver, I'm not going home. I'm going to Kevin's company. When I arrived at the company, Kevin just came out of the building. I trotted towards him holding an umbrella. She fell into his arms and kissed him. Pick you up from get off work. Kevin paused as if he had thought of something, his eyes welling up with redness. Good. Let's go home. Even if the plot was forcibly tampered with. But the love of a mad dog is eternal.